a thumbs up when I'm ready to go. All right, welcome to our live student panel at Northwestern University. My name is Quinton Sprull. I'm an assistant director of admission here at the university. I say here even though I'm at home. I'm actually a double alum as well. So I received my bachelor's in science from the School of Education and Social Policy back in 2009, and my master's from the School of Communication what was my master's in? Leadership for the Creative Enterprises back in 2017. I'm also from Chicago, and I've been around for the admissions staff for about as long as I've been an alum, so since 2009. I'm being joined today by a wonderful group of current students. I'm going to hand it off to Sydney right now, who's going to start a round of introductions. Sydney.
Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have you here with us today. My name is Sydney. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I am a senior studying mechanical engineering in our School of Engineering with a certificate in design. Outside of my academics, I'm a part of Club Ultimate Frisbee, a part of our Formula Racing team, and I participate in Design for America. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure. What's up, everyone? My name is Emily. I'm a senior also from Orange County, California. I'm in the School of Education and Social Policy. I'm a social policy major, and I have a second major in religious studies and then a minor in classical Greek. I'm a tour guide on campus. I'm one of the tour guide coordinators, and I do a bunch of stuff in the dance world on campus. I'm in a performance group called Boom Shaka. I'm actually the drum director of it, so it's pretty fun stuff. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Olivia, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Olivia. I am a fourth year from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a theater major and a business institutions minor with a certificate in musical theater. So you can imagine I'm super involved in theater on campus. I'm one of the co-chairs of the WAMU show, and I'm also a tour guide. Zach?
Sure, thanks. Last but not least, my name's Zack. I'm a senior here. Studying economics and then also minoring in psychology and business institutions. I'm from the Boston suburb called Westford. And when I'm not studying at Northwestern, I'm involved in a few things. So I'm a senior admissions counselor in the admissions office. And I used to be a tour guide, but beyond that, I'm also in an organization called Northwestern Wildside, which helps run the game day spirit of all of our Division I Big Ten sporting events. I'm also in Greek life, and I am in an organization called Student Holdings that runs on-campus businesses around the Chicagoland area.
Excellent. Thank you so much for those wonderful introductions. So you're going to hear from these students in just a few more moments. So what you can expect for over the next hour is you should expect to hear my voice for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to give you a nice little overview of who we are as a campus, what we uniquely offer, and to get you primed to ask questions to our panel of students. In terms of questions, that chat function is fully live. So whatever is percolating in your brain, feel free to just give us the questions. We'll be sure to ask our panel of students. Again, I should be speaking for about 10 minutes, and this will about 45 minutes last about another 45 minutes to get your questions answered by our student panel. Cool? Great. All right, so who are we at Northwestern? Well, at Northwestern, we are a diverse community of about 8,000 undergraduate students, representing about all 50 states actually, in over 80 countries. And we pride ourselves on these numbers because we really view diversity, sorry, you're hearing these pings, we really view diversity as a resource of learning and robust engagement. This diversity really, in terms of diversity, we're thinking about more than just geographic diversity, but we're also talking about socioeconomic diversity or gender diversity, gender expression, religion, culture, any form of diversity we really pride ourselves on because it really contributes to our small discussion-based courses that we really rely on. And we rely on that diversity from our student experience to bring that into the classroom to enhance the learning experience, regardless of subject area. Speaking of subject areas, our academic environment is really cool. We really pride ourselves on what we called our 6-school model. That's because we have 6 undergraduate schools for you to choose from. So when you apply to the university, you're going to be applying to one of the 6 schools. And from largest to smallest, here they are. The Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, which is our largest school, offering more than 45 majors and hosting about 50% of our student body. Then there's the McCormick School of Engineering, which prides itself on a whole brain engineering philosophy. The School of Communication, which has a range of areas of study from theater and radio, television, film, to communication studies and human communication sciences. Then there's our Beanon School of Music. Our Beanon School of Music offers both performance and non-performance concentrations and is our only conservatory, which means that when you apply to the university, you actually have to also submit an audition as well. Then there's the Medill School of Journalism and Integrated Marketing Communications, which is actually a very long name for a school that offers a fantastic one major, journalism. The school is a renowned school, and it offers only journalism to a great group of students, about 80% of which pursue double majors outside of the School of Medill. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And last but not least is the small but mighty School of Education and Social Policy. It has a number of concentrations such as secondary education, social policy, learning sciences, and they actually pride themselves on actually having a number of students transfer into the school after already being students on campus that really learn that they really jive with the mission and the offerings of that school. So although we have 6 distinct schools, your learning takes place across all of the 6 schools. That's aided by a quarter system. Compared to other schools that have a semester system that has 2 primary academic quarters, a quarter system like at Northwestern has 3 primary academic quarters. There are 10 weeks at length, and there's fall, winter, and spring. Summer is a term that is not really required, and a lot of students take on internship opportunities or continuing research or just going home to chillax with their friends. So at a quarter system, because you're taking about 4 courses in those 10-week periods, you're actually taking about 12 courses in an academic year. And over the course of 4 years, you're taking about 10 more courses than you would at a semester school, which gives you a great opportunity to really dabble, to really explore into your academic interests. In fact, over 60% of our students pursue more than one area of study. That could be a major, which is about 15 to 18 courses, a minor, which is about 8 to 10 courses, or a certificate, which is about 4 to 6 courses. And we have the rule of 3 at the university, which means that you can take any of those. You can take 3 majors if you're really intense. You can take 2 majors and a certificate, or a major and a minor, doesn't matter. We can ask our students about that later. So this interdisciplinary learning really sort of defines the Northwestern academic experience. That's because there is so much diversity and so much a range of courses available to our students that it's not uncommon for you to find students that are pursuing concentrations in both dance and neuroscience, or engineering and political science. This takes place thanks to our electives and our distribution requirements, which means that you can fulfill your degree requirements by taking any number of 4,600 different courses that we offer to really dive in. So let's say you need to take a math course, but you don't like math, you can take Intro to Accounting like I did, or you can take a Chaucer course to fulfill your English requirement. So there's so many courses to take to make not just fulfill requirements, but to really fulfill your own curiosity. Our faculty are also fantastic. We have Nobel Prize winners, members of the National Academy of Sciences, even Grammy winners. And although we have 8,000 students on this campus, about 77% of our classes have fewer than 20 students in them. So that means that you will get the devoted attention that you need and the depth of engagement that you need in our classrooms by being supported by our 6-to-1 student faculty ratio. We also have research and innovation centers to help you continue to dive deeper and expand your reach and your knowledge in your areas. The university actually awards about $3.5 million every single year to students who pursue research, beginning even your first year. Innovation centers such as the Garage, which is our entrepreneurship hub, or the Night Lab, which develops digital tools for media makers, or the Media and Design Studio, which help faculty and students create multimedia projects, are just a few examples of innovation centers that continue to expand your learning and your reach and your engagement. That engagement can also take place and will take place off campus as well. About 70% of our students pursue an internship or co-op experience by the time they graduate, or they participate in one of our 150 plus study abroad opportunities. Our alumni network are super helpful in helping students not only practice or round out their professional development, but also help them actually reach internships and job opportunities, et cetera. Our illustrious alumni, they range from former Chief Justice John Paul Stevens to late night titans such as Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers. Even Meghan Markle is an alum. I'm an alum too, I'm not that cool though. We also have over 500 student organizations on campus, which our students can talk about, and they can give you a little example of what they're doing on campus. So anything that any appetite you have to keep you engaged outside of schools extracurricularly, we got it. We have more than enough a cappella groups for you to tickle your fancy. We also have a great location. We are in a suburban town of Evanston, where we have about a mile-long campus. So it's kind of small, but you don't feel like you know every single person, so you don't feel like you're completely, incubated. And then we're also about just 3 miles from the city limits of the city of Chicago and about 12 miles from the heart of downtown Chicago, where you have tons of cultural opportunities, whether that be street festivals or music festivals or museums, tons of engagement for you that's easily accessible on campus by either hopping on our train lines or a free intercampus shuttle that gets you downtown in about 40 minutes. So that's about it in terms of our overview of Northwestern. I'm going to close by talking about, before we transition over to our student panel, the admission and financial aid overview, okay? So there's 2 ways to apply to the university. That's through the early decision process or the regular decision process. For early decision, you have to apply by November 1st, and it's a binding route to take. So if you're super, super excited about Northwestern, you've done your research, you fall in love with our students, you've paid $500 for a sweatshirt, way overpriced, and you believe that Northwestern is your #1 school, then we strongly encourage you to apply for early decision. But by that, we mean that you get to apply earlier and you receive your decision earlier. And if you are admitted, you have to withdraw your applications from any other schools. If that is a little bit too much for you, that's totally fine. We have another route to take. That's the regular decision process. Regular decision, you have to apply by January 2nd. And we're looking for the same kind of student regardless of which route you apply. We're accepting the common application or the coalition application, whichever you're most familiar with and your school advises. Your SATs or your ACTs and self-reported scores are accepted. And then we need 2 letters of recommendation, a counselor and a core subject teacher. You are allowed to submit more than 2 regular letters of recommendation, but ensure those extra recommendations are providing a different perspective of you as a student than we already have from the counselor and teacher recommendations. Make sense? Good. We also need your personal statement and a Why Northwestern statement. Your personal statement, you can write about whatever you want to write about. We're really trying to get a sense of who you are as a person and your strengths as a writer. We don't need you to write a novel. We don't need you to reveal your deepest, darkest secrets. But what we're really looking to view from your personal statements is to learn more about you as a person. Your transcripts only show one thing. We need your official transcripts too. Your transcripts only show one part of you. Your letters of recommendation is a perspective of you as well. Your extracurriculars give us an idea of who you are, but the personal statement is your primary opportunity to use your words to tell us who you are as a person. Your Why Northwestern statement, very short, very simple. All we want to know is why Northwestern resonates with you. Why do you want to be a part of the university? What do we stand to gain by having you a part of the university? Upon your research and visiting campus in the future, what did you pick up that you really connected to? Speak to us passionately and be specific about what inspires you and why you feel like you're the best fit to be at Northwestern. At Northwestern, we have a holistic process of reviewing your application. So context matters. So by that, we mean we want to see if you're challenging yourself within the options available to you in your specific community. Not all high schools are alike, not all students are alike, not all opportunities are available to every single student. We just want to ensure that you're making the most out of your circumstances, and that speaks to us a lot. In terms of financial aid, our financial aid process is completely separate than our admissions process. We call that a need-blind admissions policy. So you have a separate route to take or a separate application in a separate pool of financial aid administrators or reviewing your financial aid application. We meet 100% of a family's demonstrated need. What that means is that we have the cost of attendance, and let's say the cost of attendance is $10. It is not. And we then devise your expected family contribution from a few application materials. And let's say we say your expected family contribution is $7. That means that difference of the $10 cost of attendance and the $7 expected family contribution of $3 would fully cover in demonstrated need. We do that we fully cover it in all scholarship. We do offer only scholarship as well. We were loan free for about 5-6 years now. We're very happy about that because we want to ensure that students who really want to come to the university can do so without really worrying too much about financial aid. All scholarship is renewable for the next 4 years, assuming your family circumstances remain relatively simple year over year. And about 60% of our students actually do receive this robust financial aid of more than nearly $200 million actually every year, okay? So that's a lot of talking. I hope I've gotten you primed. So we're going to hand it off to our wonderful student panel. It's going to be moderated by Sydney. So get those questions in the live chat. Sydney?
Thanks so much, Quinton. So while Quinton was giving you an introduction to Northwestern, you guys were asking a lot of awesome questions. And I know one of the first things he touched on was majors. And a lot of people were kind of wondering what double majoring looks like and what it could kind of look like across schools. Emily, do you want to talk about your experience with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Quinton said, we have a ton of people that are double majoring. It's really common, especially just the way Northwestern approaches classes in the quarter system. You just have a ton of space in your schedule to be able to take lots of classes and end up with, more than one major sometimes. That's actually how I got my minor. I just took so many great classes, and my professor was like, you're like one away from the minor. And I was like, great. So that's a really common route to take. So I transferred into the School of Education and Social Policy at the end of my first year. I came in undecided. And then I transferred into CESP because I wanted to major in social policy, but I also wanted to major across schools in Weinberg. So I talked a lot to my advisor about that. It's honestly like easiest thing to do. Transferring into CESP took one sheet of paper and one information session, and then I was like in the school. And then double majoring across schools in Weinberg also took one other sheet of paper that was signed by like multiple people. And that's pretty much the whole entire process of declaring your major and declaring majors across schools. Kind of like the more logistical side of it is Northwestern puts you in the smaller school to fulfill those requirements. So basically Northwestern considers any school that's not Weinberg as one of the smaller schools. So that means because my major is in CESP, then I fulfill CESP's requirements, and that's my home school. So I'll fulfill all of those core requirements in CESP. So that's like kind of the most common way it works. If you were also in McCormick and then you had a second major in Weinberg, you fulfill like McCormick requirements. Same thing as School of Communication. So that's kind of how those core requirements work. Again, it's super easy to major across schools because then you can just take classes in both schools, and you just know that you'll fulfill both of those major requirements in those separate schools. So something really easy to do. Like Quinton said, like over 70% of students do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. And like she was saying, there's a lot of opportunities to explore your interests, whether that means you're double majoring or maybe looking forward to the future, looking to do some special interests. Some people who are interested in theater were wondering how somebody who's a theater major could get into some like kind of extra musical theater voice options. Olivia, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so we have something called the Music Theater Certificate Program at Northwestern. And just to, Quinton mentioned a little bit, but just to elaborate on what a certificate is, it's like a little bit like a minor, but like fewer classes than you would take for a minor. So the musical theater certificate actually does have an audition, but you don't audition until you're on campus in the fall, your first year, or you can actually re-audition your second year. So that's what I did. I was not admitted to the program my first year and then was admitted when I re-auditioned my second year. And through that program, we get voice lessons, what we call techniques classes, where we bring in songs and work on acting them with professors. But that being said, if you're like a little bit worried about you really want to do musical theater, but you're not sure if it's like risking it all to come to Northwestern and maybe not be in that program, I just want to reassure you, you can absolutely do musical theater, no matter if you're part of the certificate program or not. My first year and a half at Northwestern, I took voice lessons through Beenan's non-major voice lesson program. So that's an awesome opportunity as well.
Great, thank you so much, Olivia. So then kind of moving to a different side of opportunities at Northwestern, Zack, you're involved in a lot of business things on campus. What are some of the opportunities like in academics and then outside of academics that you found Northwestern has afforded you?
Yeah, so just a little bit of a heads up, Northwestern does not have a business major. And that's because a lot of times nowadays when companies and MBA programs are looking for either employees or students, they're looking for people who are very well-rounded, have a strong liberal arts degree, and can think very creatively outside the box. So it's actually been to my aid, or it's helped me a lot while applying to different companies that I don't have a business major, but instead I'm studying economics and I'm minoring in business institutions. So to talk a little bit about the different business-esque academic programs here at Northwestern, we have an economics degree, which applies a lot of both theoretical and practical knowledge to your everyday studies. So I'm learning not only theory from people, both old and new, but I'm also learning a lot about how to apply everyday knowledge to different business fields and different tasks. We also have a business minor, which is what I'm also in right now. So you take classes in accounting, finance, leadership, and marketing. So you're able to get a lot of those actual practical experiences and practical knowledge points that you can then apply into the workforce. But to talk a little bit more about extracurricular outside of academics fields, we have so many different business clubs on campus that will help you dive into different industries and learn a lot about what you can possibly do after you graduate. So for example, I'm in an organization called Student Holdings where I'm the marketing manager. So within that, I've learned a lot about how I can actually use marketing, how I can apply it into the real world. And I've gotten a lot of actual experience that has incredibly helped me in the job hunt. One thing I forgot to mention though is that we also have 2 certificate programs in the Kellogg School of Management. So you can get a certificate in managerial analytics or a certificate in financial economics. Both of these two are very mathematical based, very quantifiable. Not only do you get to put Kellogg on your resume, which is super lit, super cool in my opinion, but beyond that, you also do get those practical experiences that some employers may be looking for when they're reviewing candidates. But then to talk a little bit more about the internship and the job experiences that I can get out of Northwestern, Northwestern just does an incredible job of helping students find different career paths and helping them actually learn how to dive into these different fields and industries as well. Our career center is super robust and they'll do lots of one-on-one, help with you, but then they'll also host countless information sessions, coffee chats. Personally, I'm going into the consulting industry, and when I was applying for jobs this past fall, literally every single interview and every single information session I went to was on campus, which is not only a testament to how much these companies are willing to invest in Northwestern students, but it's also just a testament to us students because it makes it a lot easier just go through the application process and actually find really strong jobs.
Awesome, Zach. Thank you so much. So Zach touched on a couple of things that you can do outside of academics to sort of pursue your interests. If you're interested, there's clubs, there's other opportunities. And one of those things is if you have an interest that you can't really find a class for, or you've taken a class for that you're really interested in, you can continue pursuing that interest through research. Emily, I know you've done some research on campus. Can you talk on that? Talk about different avenues to do research at Northwestern?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently doing research. It's like an independent research project, essentially. So I'm doing it all by myself. But I have 2 professors that are my advisors. It's for my senior thesis. And like Quinton said before, we do have $3.5 million that Northwestern allots to undergraduate research. So kind of like right when you start research, that's one of the first things people will tell you is like Northwestern has this grant money. So take advantage of it in like a positive way, not in a weird negative way, but definitely take advantage of the fact that Northwestern wants to support their students in that. So I've actually received 2 research grants from the undergraduate research office. One over the summer undergraduate research grant, which is for $3,500. So it covers costs of living in Evanston for the summer and things like that, as well as any costs that you have that go along with your research. Then I also got an academic year undergraduate research grant, which is for $1,000. over the course of the academic year. And that's because they don't cover cost of living over the academic year. But essentially, those are like really great grants to access, and can really help students get into research, like Sid said, to pursue those interests that you might have in the classroom or might have outside of the classroom. Probably the easiest way to get into research is to talk to your professors. So if you have a class that you really enjoyed, like let's say you took a class on like education policy in Chicago or something, and that's what your professor does. Your professor does research on that. So the easiest way to get into it would be then to email that professor or go into office hours or something and be like, hey, I'm really interested in this research. And that's a very personable way to get into research, but there are also other ways to just apply to a bunch of labs on campus. We have tons and tons of labs on campus. I have a few friends that work in organic chemistry labs. I have a friend who works in a psychology lab. I have two friends that work in psychology labs. Like, it's very, very common to apply to work in those labs across campus. And those are really, really beneficial opportunities just to like meet a bunch of different people who are in graduate school, meet a bunch of professors who have been doing research for so long in the area that you're interested in. So it's just something that Northwestern really encourages you to do. It's also something that I went into college and I was like, I'm a humanities person. Like, I don't do research. It's not my thing. Because I definitely thought of research as more STEM based. We have a ton of STEM research happening on campus. Like I mentioned, there's organic chemistry labs. I had a friend who, like, for a whole entire summer, he just worked with a 3D printer, just like him and the 3D printer together doing research, I guess. So there's like a ton of STEM research going on, but there's also a lot of research outside of that that's definitely available. So that's kind of like the biggest thing Northwestern research community tries to push, is that like anyone can get involved in it. You just have to have an interest in something, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, research is a really great way to get involved on campus, and they also offer summer research. So when everyone leaves, professors are often looking for people to help out in their labs in the summer. And so I know a lot of friends who have done that kind of in place of an internship and gotten grants to support them through the summer as like sort of a payment option. So that's also a really cool thing that Northwestern does. So now we're going to kind of transition. I sort of want each of our panelists to talk about your favorite campus traditions. So Zach, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure thing. So my favorite campus tradition is Armadillo Day, or Dillo Day for short. I'm sorry, I probably just stole that from both of our other panelists, but pretty much what Dillo Day is it's the largest student-run music festival in the entire country. We usually host it in either late May or early June, depending on just the school cycle. And we'll bring in really cool artists like Chance the Rapper, Steve Aoki, Kendrick Lamar, MGMT. I honestly don't know how we get these like A-list people to come to our campus and perform for us, but it's always an incredible time every year. And our president, Morty Shapiro, always states to every student that he does not want to see a single individual studying on Dillo Day. He instead wants everyone to go out onto our Lakeville, which is right, obviously, on our lake, have fun, be a college student, live in the moment. And because it's about 10 or 11 days before our finals actually begins, it's one of the best times to really just live in the moment, have some fun, de-stress before you then have to go prepare for finals the next day after.
Yeah, Olivia, do you want to?
So my favorite campus tradition is the WAMU show, which is the largest student-written musical in the country. You'll hear that a lot at Northwestern, like the largest student-run blank in the country. We have a lot of those. So WAMU, every year, we start off in the fall with just an idea for a musical that does not exist. And then by spring, we've gotten like literally 150 students working together to write a musical, orchestrate it, perform it, produce it, market it, everything that that a musical requires. And then it's put on as part of the Wirt Center main stage season. And it's just such a cool opportunity. I don't think it happens anywhere else. And we have some really cool alumni from WAMU as well. People like Brian Darcy James, Anna Gasteyer, people who are really big in the theater world today. Yeah.
Emily.
Cool. So real traditional in my favorite campus tradition. I really like The Rock. I think it's a really, I think it's a really fun story. It always makes me laugh when we tell the story on tours and stuff. But it's basically just, I mean, if you haven't been to our campus before, it's just this rock in the middle of the campus that has like, I think at least like 10 inches worth of paint on it, because people paint it for, you know, tons of stuff that's happening on campus. The rules are that you have to guard it for 24 hours beforehand, and you have to paint it in the middle of the night. So, you know, you start guarding in the middle of the night. You get to sleep on the ground outside in front of Kresge Centennial Hall. It's a crazy experience. But it's honestly one of those times when I was painting the rock for our performance group, it was one of those times where I was like, this is just like so quintessential college to be painting the rock for some auditions that are happening. Yeah, it was just like a very fun moment. I think it's a really long tradition. And I think that's cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So my favorite campus tradition isn't exactly a campus tradition, but a lot of our student groups start their own traditions. So there's really great ways to get involved around campus. And a lot of times when you join one of these student groups and you find a great community, they have their own traditions. So on the Club Ultimate Frisbee team, we have a little tournament called OVY. It's Old versus Young, where all of our alumni come back and then we play a Frisbee game against each other. It's one of my favorite parts of Northwestern. It usually happens in the spring, so that's a little sad, but the past 3 years have been awesome, getting to know people that I've heard about, legends in the Frisbee community. That kind of thing has always been a really great part of my Northwestern experience. So next up, we have the quintessential question about the weather at Northwestern. Olivia, being from New Orleans, do you want to talk about this?
Oh, absolutely, I do. Yeah, so I was terrified coming to Northwestern, just knowing about the weather. Like I visited in May and it was like 55 degrees and I was in like my puffy jacket. But if you're worried, please don't be. I truly am the type of person who like is cold when the air conditioner is on too high, and I've been okay. I've learned about layering. That's important. Also, in the winter, when it is freezing, like we have shuttles that can take you to class. You're never outside for more than like 10 to 15 minutes if you don't want to be. Because again, our campus is only a mile long. It's super walkable. Classes are pretty close to each other. So please don't be worried about the weather. I've never wished that I stayed in a warm place because I love Northwestern that much, but it is cold.
Awesome. And as she's speaking, I'm in my house in Evanston looking out the window. It is super sunny, and 2 seconds ago it was snowing. Last week it was 65 degrees. So you don't really know what you're going to get, but it's always exciting. So that's kind of fun. Our next question was about our engineering curriculum. So I'm just going to steal the mic for a second. Somebody asked about our first year engineering curriculum, which I know a lot of incoming students are curious about. So as you know, we're on the quarter system. That means we have 3 main academic quarters. Our classes are split up. I know as an engineering student, I was worried about having too much packed into one time, but our sequence is spread out to be a year. If it was a year-long course, like our intro chemistry sequence at a semester school, you actually get 3 quarters to complete that rather than just 2 semesters. So every final cycle, you're kind of doing only a third of the curriculum rather than a whole half. So that's kind of nice in terms of like workload that I know a lot of people are worried about. Another really great thing about our first year curriculum is our engineering analysis sequence. So there's actually 4 courses. So you'll take one your fall of your second year, but they each go through a different sector of engineering, I guess. So engineering analysis 1 starts by teaching you the basics of coding and sort of some of this logic stuff. And each of them incorporate like, instead of like this generic like engineering curriculum that a lot of colleges have, we like base it around a subject, but that also incorporates some of that knowledge that you need to know as like a baseline to a lot of your other courses. So engineering analysis 2 and 3 are more like mechanical, talking about like springs and dampers and that kind of stuff, getting you some basic physics without actually having to take that first level of physics. And then the 4th one is like more like equation based, that kind of thing. Gives you a really broad range of engineering experiences and also kind of helps like let you know like I came in undecided, and so I didn't really know what kind of engineering I wanted to go into. And so seeing these samples of different engineering curriculums and different like tastes of major was really, really helpful to actually know what I wanted to do rather than just reading about it. So you'll take your intro math, your intro chem. A lot of times your AP credits can count towards that, and then your engineering analysis sequence. And there's also a lot of really cool low commitment classes to also help you test out the majors. I know material science has one. It's like Mat Sci 110 or something, and you just get to like use some of the equipment. It's once a week, taught by this really cool professor who's just trying to get students interested in material science and give you an intro, and it's pretty low commitment and gives you a really great introduction to that. So you'll take that, and then you'll have a couple spaces left over to take electives or your theme courses, which have to be in like social science or humanities. So they really give you a good introduction to engineering and then also allow you to have breadth in your schedule, which is a really nice thing coming in your first year. So I'm going to stop talking and pass it on to Zack, who's a member of Wildside, which he can talk more about, to talk about our athletics on campus and what role they play in the Northwestern community.
Definitely. So when I was looking at colleges, I wanted to go to a place that had really strong academics, but it also had a really strong sports scene and fun culture and just overall environment where I could let loose and have some fun while also studying and preparing for my future. And I've definitely found that at Northwestern. So for those of you that don't know, we are the Northwestern Wildcats, a Division I team in the Big Ten. And we've had a ton of success, especially with our football team over the past few years, winning a ton of bowl games and even winning the Big Ten West and going to the Big Ten championships in 2018, yeah, in 2018. But to talk a little bit about the school culture surrounding sports right now, every student has purple, and so many students like to go out and have fun, especially on Saturdays, going to some tailgates and going to the football games, but also going to basketball games, soccer games, baseball games, you name it. And one of the best perks is that every student can go to any single sporting event for free. So not only can they go for free, but then once they're there, they'll get free stuff. So every single football game, baseball game, etc. You'll usually get like some free merch, like a free t-shirt, a free hat, a free beanie, you name it, which you can then wear really any other time as well. But I just think the overall vibe of Northwestern is students love to study hard here and be passionate, but they also love to find some time to let loose, have some fun, and do things outside the classroom, such as going to, Division I sporting events.
Go Cats. There's also a lot of opportunities for students who are interested in athletics that aren't just D1. And while we have a really great passionate community that also translates to our intramural and club sports, there's a lot of opportunities there for people to get involved, maybe continue a sport from high school and even try something new. I know we have intramural dodgeball, which my roommates really love. So there's like a lot of fun ways to get active and get involved in athletics at Northwestern. So sort of transitioning to on-campus life. I know a lot of us are fourth years here, but we also have a 2-year live-on requirement at Northwestern. So Olivia, do you want to talk about your experience in campus housing and also a little bit about the dining on campus?
Yeah, for sure. So I lived on campus for 3 years, actually, even though only first and second year students are required to live on campus because I liked it so much. So the first 2 years I lived in the humanities residential college, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. We have 3 different styles of housing at Northwestern, and that's residential colleges, residential communities, and residence halls. And they're all pretty much the same thing in that it's a building you live in on campus. But the only difference is the level of programming that you have within each building. So residential colleges will have the most programming. Usually they'll have some sort of theme like humanities. We also have a communications one. There was a fine and performing arts one, international studies, lots of different options. And in my residential college, we had a student-run executive board who would plan events. We had faculty fellows who are faculty members at Northwestern who were involved in the humanities, and they would like eat lunch with us and talk to us about their work. I got to know one faculty member pretty well, and she wrote me a recommendation letter for an internship that I did. So that was an awesome resource for my residential college. It was also just a lot of fun. And I think that's true of pretty much all housing at Northwestern. Like a lot of people meet some of their closest friends just from where they live on campus. Both of my senior year roommates are people I met my freshman year in my residential college. Residential communities tend to be a little bit larger than res colleges. And they'll sometimes have a faculty in residence who's a faculty member who lives like literally in like an apartment adjoined to the building. And then residence halls are more typically what you would think of as the college living experience, in that there's no theme or faculty in residence, but still absolutely ways to build community with the people around you. So with housing at Northwestern, it's really all about like what you're looking for, what your preference is. As an incoming student, you're able to rank, I think, is it your top like 5 or 6 choices? Yeah, 5 of where you want to live on campus, if you want a single or a double. And usually they're able to place you within one of those. But that being said, there's no one building on campus that's like superior to the rest of them. They all have really great amenities, and it's really easy to get everywhere from everywhere on campus. To talk a little bit more about dining, we have 6 different dining halls at Northwestern. And wherever you live on campus, you'll either have a dining hall in your building, or you'll never be more than like a 2-minute walk from a dining hall, which is super exciting. All first-year students are on the open access meal plan, which means that you can swipe in to any of the dining halls as many times per day as you want. And then beyond your first year, you're welcome to choose from a number of meal plans. They all have different numbers of meal swipes, so the amount of times you can go into the dining hall, and also dining dollars, which are essentially just tax-free dollars that you can use in any dining facility on campus that's not a dining hall. So for example, Norris, our student center, has a bunch of really awesome dining options. I spent all of my dining dollars there at the Starbucks on the 2nd floor, which we lovingly call Norbucks. We also have a bunch of different cafes on campus. There's Fran's Cafe, which is like a late night diner kind of vibe. They do like milkshakes and French fries, and it's super fun. Also, if you ever get bored of food on campus, which I know you probably will, but even though we do a really great job, Evanston is the self-proclaimed dining capital of the North Shore. So there's a lot of really exciting options to try in Evanston as well. One last thing to mention is if you have any sort of dietary restrictions or allergies, our dining halls are really, really good about that. There's always like a vegetarian option, a vegan option, gluten-free, kosher, halal options as well. And if you have a more specific restriction or allergy, you can totally talk with the dining staff, and they'll make sure that you have something to eat. So you'll never go hungry at Northwestern.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, right about now I'm missing when I was living in a residence hall and there was a dining center below me. Now I have to make all my own food. I don't even have a choice. It's getting difficult, but what's not getting difficult is my academics because of the support I get from Northwestern. Emily, do you want to talk a little more about that?
What an incredible transition, Sid. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So we do have a lot of academic support on campus. The first thing I'll just say is like every class, the professors are required to hold office hours for 2 hours during the week at least. So that's like a 2-hour period at least where you'll get to like go in and talk to your professor if you're struggling in the class. TAs, teaching assistants, also hold office hours, which would be really helpful if it's like a bigger class and you feel like you don't really want to approach the professor. Or if you like know people are going to professor office hours, you want to go to TA office hours instead. Those are all available, and that can be really helpful. I've had some professors that like I've gone into their office hours and we've just talked about like the essay that I have to write for my final paper, and they've been like, "Here's a really great thesis statement that I like," and I'm like, "Thank you." So it's a really good way to learn how to succeed in class is to engage with your professors and your teaching assistants. There are also ways to get tutoring on campus as well, outside of the classroom. So we have campus-wide tutoring, and we have both peer and TA tutoring. So you have some peer tutoring groups, then those are run by people who have taken the class before. They probably got a pretty good grade in it, and then they apply to be a tutor for it. So you have to have gotten a good grade in it. You have to be willing to put in the hours to work, and then those people can be peer tutors. And those and also TA tutoring is available for a lot of courses. I would suggest if you like literally just typed in like Northwestern campus-wide tutoring on the internet, you'd come up with a list of courses that we do have tutoring for. It's not every single course. That's mostly because some of our courses are extremely specific. And like Quinton said, we have 4,600 courses. So that's way too many to be tutoring for all of them at one time. But we definitely have a lot available, especially for those courses that are like, that need to be like, you have problems that need to be worked out in like group sessions and things like that. But we also have tutoring resources for writing that can be really helpful as you come onto campus as a college student. You're like in high school, you may write AP essays and things like that. But this is a really good resource. Writing resources on campus are really good to kind of help you figure out how to write like a college level essay kind of right off the bat. And we also have some study groups that are available. So in addition to like tutoring with peers or a TA, you can sign up for like a quarter-long study group. That's essentially just like a group of like 6 people who are all taking the same class, and then you just study together throughout the quarter. It's a pretty self-explanatory thing, but you can definitely sign up for those, and then you get sustained support throughout the entire quarter. Whereas some of the tutoring options are more just like a one-time thing, like I'm struggling this week and I want to come in or things like that. But there's definitely like tutoring and support on campus. Like I said, lots of resources, and again, just like emphasizing way you can start going into office hours with your professors, with your teaching assistants, and getting to know other students in the class can be really helpful as well.
Awesome, thank you, Emily. So going back a little to the musical theater, all of those kind of things, people are wondering about some of the performance arts opportunities across the university for non-majors. Olivia, if you could talk a little bit about that, and then also Emily, if you want to talk a little bit more about like student dance groups and those kind of ways to get involved in performing arts.
Yeah, so basically almost every performance art opportunity on campus is a non-major opportunity because for the most part, anyone on campus can be involved in the performing arts no matter what your major is. And that includes like the main stage Wort Center season, which is run by the university. We have professionals direct the shows, but they're all performed by students. And also our student theater scene, which is really exciting to me. We have, I think it's like 10 different student theater boards now. And they all do their own season of theater. They all have their own focus. For example, Lipstick is our feminist theater board. We have the Jewish Theater Ensemble. We have Vertigo, which produces only student-written plays. And anyone can be involved in any of those things. We have so many non-majors who get involved, like directing, producing, stage managing, performing, designing, really everything you can think of. So there really aren't any major limits on being able to be involved in the performing arts. And a lot of people do get involved regardless of major.
Something I'll add, just the sheer amount of performances we have across the year. We have over 80 performances every year, which if you do the math is more than 2 a weekend. So there's always something to do. Actually, this last weekend in particular, I think it's like week 3 or week 4 or something like that. It's always the Fusion Show, which is a hip hop group on campus, the Tonic Show, which is a tap group on campus, the Burlesque Show, which is a burlesque group on campus. So it's all 3 of those shows in this weekend of spring quarter usually. And so there's like always something like that happening. There's always something to go to, which is my favorite part of the extracurricular arts at Northwestern, is like Olivia was saying, like anyone can get involved in them. Like I said, I'm in a dance group, but I have never danced a day in my life. It's a dancing and drumming group. So I actually drum for it, but I get to be a part of this like really cool community that puts on like amazing shows. And I go to a bunch of dance shows now that I probably would never have gone to before. A bunch of different stuff like that. That's probably my favorite part of Northwestern art scene, is that everyone really loves to get into it and support it, whether it's through, going to Refusion Shaka in the fall, which is like a huge dance group performance we do with a bunch of different dance groups, or if it's going to, comedy shows throughout the year, to the Meow Show. That's my favorite comedy group on campus. They say they're like 1/3 sketch comedy, 1/3 improv, and 1/3 rock and roll. And it's just like a hilarious show. What's even funnier than the actual show is watching literally all of Northwestern student body try to fit into the small black box theater that they hold it in. So it's just really, really fun for everyone to be in on those, and for everyone enjoy the arts on campus and love going to all those performances throughout the year. So that's probably just like a more general view of it, but even more emphasizing that even if you're not talented in any way, you can absolutely enjoy the art scene on campus as well.
Speaking as a not performance arts talented in any way, I can completely attest to that. I am an engineer through and through, and I have not been able to get involved in performing arts except for going to all these awesome shows. It's not something I think I thought I would be doing at Northwestern. It's not really my forte, but going and seeing these dancers, you're kind of like, I could be a TikTok star maybe. And then you try and you're like, no, I couldn't. But it's really great to support your friends, see them doing something else. And that's also one of my favorite things about Northwestern, is how passionate everyone is. And even if you have different interests, like hearing about those passions from your friends, from other students, really brings you together in a different way, because you can talk about these really cool things and like ask people questions, and they want to tell you about what they're passionate and they want to get you involved in any way. And they're always willing to listen to your passions too. So that's why I love Northwestern. And I want to hear from the rest of my panelists why they love Northwestern. If we want to do Zach, Emily, Olivia.
Sure. So when I was looking at colleges, I wanted to find a place that was pretty different from my high school. So I went to this like really small competitive high school back in the Boston area, where everything was solely focused on like getting the best GPA, getting into the best college, and kind of just living in your future. So when I was looking at places, I wanted to go to a university where I could still get that rigorous academic setting and prepare for, my future career. But at the same time, I wanted to find a university where I could also like live in the moment, pursue passions outside the classroom, and be like a fun college student. And I think overall, my favorite part of Northwestern is the fact that students here are able to combine both a ton of academic passion and a ton of excitement for what they're doing and what they're looking forward to in the future, but combining that with their ability to just like have fun, live in the moment, and be collaborative, helpful individuals. So students here are never competing against one another to beat the GPA. They're never fighting to be the best and to be better than everyone else. Instead, they're fighting to be the best that they individually can be. And this just creates a much kinder, more fun environment where students can also then just live in the moment and, define things and find passions both inside and outside the classroom.
Yeah, so those are both really good answers, and definitely had an impact on why I chose Northwestern and why I still love Northwestern. I visited Northwestern when I was 13 years old. I was dragged there on a college trip with my older sister, and I was not very happy about it. But then it was like, it was like 70 degrees. I like looked out on the lake, saw the view of Chicago that we have. I was like, oh, like I could do this. It's like this all the time, right? And I just really fell in love with how beautiful the school was. I decided to come back and visit 4 years later, when I was actually applying to college when I was a senior. And I kind of realized that Northwestern was just like telling me everything I needed to hear. My senior year of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to major in. I didn't really know what my interests looked like in the job world. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. And Northwestern was kind of one of the few places I went where they told me they actually wanted me to come there and figure it out. Northwestern really wants you to come in, just take a bunch of different classes, figure out what you're passionate about learning about, and then kind of later on teaching you how that works in the real world and how there are jobs for that and there are job areas for that passion that you have. But really, again, fostering that passion for what you're actually learning about and like educating yourself. And kind of like Zach was saying, like students just like want to come here and like learn and then like be the best that they can be in the field that they're most interested in and most passionate about. And I think I really on the campus. And it also really helped me to be like, oh, I don't need to know exactly what I'm going to do right now. Like I can go to Northwestern and kind of learn from my peers, from my professors, and just like about myself there. And that was really, really helpful, and something that like eased a lot of anxiety I had about the college process. And it's also kind of just like the Goldilocks of schools. Like it wasn't too big, it wasn't too small. It was not in a big city, but it was pretty close to a big city. It had the athletics, the academics, the arts, kind of everything I was looking for in one. And yeah, that's kind of why I decided to stay there, and it's really all turned out to be true, and I am really grateful for that.
Yeah, so I kind of on the flip side of that, came into my college search knowing for sure that I was going to be a theater major, but I also knew that I wanted to do all these other things, that I felt like some programs would be really restrictive, and I just wanted to be able to like be a business minor and like even just take a Russian literature class because I wanted to. And I found that Northwestern was the only place where I felt like I could do all of the many things I wanted to do. It was somewhere that had a really, really strong theater program, but also it was really strong academically, and just allowed me to explore all of my interests. And I also just visiting campus got a sense of the student body and found that everyone was just so positive, and passionate about everything they're doing, often the many things they're doing. And that's totally held to be true. Like just throughout all of senior year, I've like had to take a moment and like look around at my senior musical theater class and be like, wow, I can't believe I get to be in class with so many talented, smart people who are also just kind and positive and wonderful friends, and people, in addition to being really talented. Yeah, so that's why I came to Northwestern, why I still love Northwestern. And I can't imagine having gone anywhere else. I've loved it here so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you all, my panelists, and also thank you everyone who has watched today. It's been really great reading and answering your questions. We hope that you've learned a lot. If you have more questions, you can always contact us at admissions, but I'm going to pass it back to Quinton to wrap it up for us.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for a really, really, really informative and fun student panel. One question I want to close out on. How would you guys describe Northwestern in one word? We're going to do it alphabetically. So let's start with Emily.
Okay, one word. I'm gonna say. I'll just go with passionate, even though I'm looking for something a little bit more exciting than passionate. I'm gonna go with passionate and take everyone else's word.
Am I next in the alphabet? I think so. I was also going to say passionate, but the other word I was thinking of was vibrant.
Opportunity-filled.
Collaborative.
All right, Zach stole my word of collaborative. So I'll go on the other one I was thinking about, which is possibility. So again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Please be sure to subscribe so you're notified of any other sessions that we have posted and any other live chat opportunities. In our live chat, we're also going to list our links to our visit request form. So if there's any other opportunities you'd like to be involved in to continue to your learning about Northwestern, feel free to check us out online. We're happy to answer any questions you have, plenty of opportunities to continue to engage with us as you continue your search. So thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to speak with you soon. Bye-bye.